Mr. Netanyahu met yesterday again. I don't even remember how many meetings I saw somewhere that Trump and Netanyahu have already met more times than Netanyahu met Biden during the whole 4 years of the Biden administration. I don't know if that's right. I didn't verify it, but they're certainly meeting a lot. And you never know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I'm almost as anxious about these meetings as I am about Trump Zelensky meetings. Although that's next level because of how the first meeting, what happened there. But yeah, I said on yesterday's show, I hope it goes well or at least not too bad. And with Trump, you never actually know. So I'm gonna say it went as well as we could hope. We're gonna go through some clips from the press conference. We're gonna go through maybe some of the things that were talked about that were not in the clips, and we're gonna see what that means for Israel and the threats that it faces at the moment, the threats and the opportunities that it faces because there's a threat there's a threat and an opportunity in Iran. There's a growing threat in Lebanon. There is the great threat in Gaza that hasn't been dealt with nearly sufficiently enough, and there's the threat and opportunities in Yemen and that region. So we're gonna try to make sense of it all. Welcome to the reality show. I'm Razi Ginsburg. I'm joined by Daniel Kraus and Anders Ingemarsson. Uh, Guys, do you have any opening comments or do you just want to go into the first clip?
Anders?
Let's move to the first clip.
Well, I'll just mention one thing then. I kind of realized when making the thumbnail that it's kind of easy to like do clickbait titles with like Trump because they are not even really clickbait because he just says stuff. Like when we said like immediate invasion of Iran, that's a quote. Like we are quoting him on that. He won't do it. At least I don't think he will. But yeah, it's kind of weird how when it comes to Trump, almost I don't think ever we had like a clickbait title of him because he just says stuff like hell to pay, right? It's like that's a great thing to put on a thumbnail, but he just won't do it. So I wish we had the opposite when we had to clickbait him because he does stuff instead of saying it.
It takes us sometimes forever to come up with titles and thumbnails, so we'll
Well, but
take
not
it.
when it comes to like quotes or like pulling something out of it.
Well, let's hear the first clip and see if maybe there's a better title there than what we used.
What do you want to start with?
Surprise me.
All right.
Will you support an attack, Israeli attack on Iran if Iran will not have a deal? If Iran will continue with the ballistic missiles and also nuclear weapons?
If they will continue with the missiles, yes. The nuclear, fast. Okay? One will be yes, absolutely. The other was, we'll do it immediately.
Beautiful. Why can't Trump be as right on everything as he is on this? Yeah, I like it. The only thing I would say is why not immediately on both, but it kind of, it's certainly as the best you could have hoped for. Anders.
Yeah, I guess that is the best you can hope for. But this is immediately after he has spent some time with Bibi, and Bibi is probably the best Trump greaser there is out there of foreign leaders. And
Actually, this is before, right, Daniel? This is before before the
yeah,
meeting.
this was like I'm not sure if you would call this press conference. This was like before lunch, before they even went into the official meeting.
The photo op as soon as Netanyahu comes out of the car, and then they had another one after.
Okay, all right. Well, that could be whatever, but I'm sure they talk in between too, even when they're not meeting in person. So and as we know, Bibi, he is he's showing one face to the West and another face internally in Israel, and I mean he's master at staying alive as a politician, obviously, whatever you think about him and his policies. So I was surprised about that. And yeah, no, it's nice that Trump is saying something that we like, but tomorrow there might be another message because if anything, he's inconsistent. And in general, yeah, I note these things, but I don't take them too seriously because he keeps changing his tone and his positions all the time because he's a person without principles. He is going by the seat of his pants and yeah, pragmatist to the core, emotionalist. So yeah, that's again nice, but I don't put too much importance on it.
Well, the way I would put importance is I completely agree with you. Trump can change his mind at any time, which is why this attack needs to happen now, especially with the protests going on in Iran. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in the chat said, do objectivists ever make a stand? Well, the fact is, it's hard to take a stance on what Trump says, or not hard what he specifically says, but to like make something out of it, right? Like if you go to other presidents, if you go to Obama's, you didn't build that. We could take him seriously on that because both his philosophy and his actions were compatible with what he was saying. When it comes to Trump, we heard many hells to pay, but we hear a lot of like peacemaking, right? Trump just got the FIFA Peace Prize, didn't you hear? So yeah, I mean, I hate that also, that oftentimes when it comes to what like Trump says, it's like there isn't really that much to comment on because we don't know what actually will happen, which isn't fault on us. It's fault on him for being so inconsistent. Like
And
yeah.
And you have to differentiate between what he says and what he does, right? I mean, I have no problem criticizing him. I've taken a stand on what he does all the time. So, for instance, when we did bomb Iran, yeah, great, but then pulling out before the regime, when it was so close to toppling the regime, and they were pulling out and not let the Israelis finish it, I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Well, he also said at the time that he's against regime change because it's messy, and he also said that again yesterday or something to that effect, right, Daniel?
yeah, right before this, I think he was straight up asked about regime change, and I think he said we are not talking about the regime change. So he sort of rebuked that. But again, it's so hard to put him down on anything ever. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the Zelensky meeting, but Trump was like, Russia wants good things for Ukraine. And he said that like next to Zelensky, and Zelensky's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like even Netanyahu, like look at I'm like 60% sure Netanyahu has no idea what Trump will say like when they do this press conference. That's why right now when he's like Trump said, he would support Iranian strike, Israeli strike on Iran. Look at Netanyahu. He's like, okay, all right, this is going well. That's the thing. Like I don't think even leaders know what he will decide on or what he will say, because a lot of times he like jokes, like Trump will joke about like corruption cases Netanyahu has.
Yeah, by the way, the insult about objectivists taking a stand, I'm not sure I understood it, and the person now says, I rest my case with that comment, so still don't know what he's talking about. But the Zelensky photo op, he also, somebody asked about Russia just bombing Kiev, like bombing, apartment buildings, and Trump said, well, Ukraine bombs Russia too. And I'm thinking, how does Zelensky say that or not stand there and not just say, fuck you? Like, we didn't want any part of this. This was forced on us. And of course, it's not the same. It's not, yeah, okay, yeah, Japan bombed America, America bombed Japan. that's not how it goes. One side starts a war, one side is evil, the other side is fighting, for its survival. Really, really despicable. But anyway, that's not the topic for today. Should we watch another clip?
Yes, let's do.
Oh, wait, before you show that clip, I should say that during the meeting, during the last meeting, Trump surprised Netanyahu with a phone call to the Qatari prime minister, where Netanyahu apologized to the Qatari prime minister for bombing Hamas terrorists on his soil. Yesterday, Netanyahu surprised Trump with a call. That was a call to Israel's education minister, who told him that Trump will be awarded the Israel Prize in Independence Day. This is a big thing in Israel, the Israel Prize. I don't know that this has ever happened, but I fully understand why. And look, um, I would love to live in a world where that's not a thing, but if this is a way you buy Trump's support for the things that Israel needs to do for its survival, sure.
Well, let's watch that.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion, on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Well, the one thing that the clip proves is that the surprise me Daniel approach to what we're gonna watch doesn't work, because basically I spoiled it without knowing that that's what I'm spoiling. Anders.
Yeah, this goes back to what I said, when the Bibi knows what he's doing, and he knows how to grease the wheels. And you know better than I to what extent the Israeli people are truly grateful for what Trump has done. And I mean, he certainly facilitated bringing home the hostages. And I'm not exactly sure what the sentiments are about the ceasefire. I suspect that Israel is divided on that, as on most other subjects. But obviously this Israel Prize, I'm sure it will help in the negotiations for a little while until Trump moves on to the next topic. So I don't know when this is going to be awarded. When is Israel's Independence Day? Sorry for my ignorance.
I think this year it's late April. It's the Jewish
Varies.
calendar.
Sure. Okay, late April. So we have 4 months here where we can look forward to a good cooperation between the U.S. and Israel.
Yeah, and I should say, on this channel we talk about what Trump is doing to America as well, which is, I think, very, very bad. In Israel, people, understandably care about what America's approach to Israel is, and they remember Biden because it was less than a year ago that they had to live through that. So, yeah, certainly up until now, when it comes to Israel, Trump, considering Biden was right before, is a huge, huge step up. And yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Netanyahu was like doing a little bit of a slide or sort of like a doublespeak when he's like, Trump broke so many conventions. Yeah, he did. It's not a good thing. And I'm wondering, I mean, I don't think Netanyahu would like pull something like that, but I found it pretty amusing. And yeah, again, sort of, I mean, awarding that to Trump, it reminds me, I don't know what's more like interesting, the sort of unseriousness of the whole situation, but it's like, I mean, I don't know how Israelis like look at this prize. But I know we have like a lot of prizes like that in Slovakia, and I don't know if like anybody cares. So I'm wondering if it how much the prestige of it matters, despite I mean if the trade is like giving this award for to a non-Israeli, which might be a big deal, and the what you get back is like the overthrow of the Iranian regime. That seems like a good trade. But I also it's like sad to have this like weird transactional relationship with like prices and stuff. I mean, it reminds me. I don't know if anybody like covered this, but apparently when there were like tariffs on Switzerland, a bunch of I don't know if it was Swiss bankers or industrialists like came to the White House. And apparently they brought in like a gift of like a gold bar, and apparently that gold bar was on Trump's desk for some time, or might still be there. And the tariffs dropped after that visit. So again, it's that sort of thing where like I kind of like the result, right? I don't want tariffs. I want to take out the Iranian regime, but the idea that it happens because we appeased some guy who just wants not even money, but who wants like something in exchange. And again, if something in exchange was yeah, yeah. I mean, it's already happening, right? When it comes to Israeli-American relationship, America gives basically coupons to Israel to like buy American weapons, and Israel gathers a lot of information about the weapons, about how to use them, how to improve them, and it gives that to America. That I found like good. That's like a proper transaction. But we help you, but you give us money or you give us award. That's or not even award, like because like specifically to him, like specifically to Trump or his library or his family. It's like it's just disgusting, and I wish we didn't have to rely on something like that.
I mean, because of the way Israel works, as opposed to, say, Qatar, Netanyahu can't just give him a plane. Here's a bigger plane, although there's only one bigger plane than a 747, and Israel doesn't have any of those. But yeah, the Israel prize is a big deal. Like, it's a big deal in Israel. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he sees it as a big deal. But again, it's if like you said, if it you accept this, you let us get rid of the Ayatollahs, that's a great deal. All right, more clips.
Yes. Let's do. Well, I'll add this one.
Wiped it out. If we
Back
didn't
it together.
wiped it out. If we didn't wipe out with our beautiful B-2 bombers, if we didn't, and we sent a lot of Tomahawks in there also, by the way, from a submarine.
And what about the pardon that the president of Israel needs to give the prime minister?
A pardon?
A pardon.
I think he will. How do you not? He's a wartime prime minister.
Just quickly, the journalist asked about the pardon to Netanyahu for the corruption cases.
Who's a hero. How do you not give a pardon? I think it's a very hard thing not to do it. I spoke to the president, and it's on. I mean, he tells me it's on its way.
Mr.
You
President.
can't do better than that, right? Please.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a thing that the president of the United States should be involved in any way. But of course, the president of Israel, being of the left, immediately issues a statement saying, "Oh, there hasn't been any more talks since last time that I clarified to Trump that that's not how it works." I really think, the Israeli president cares more about Netanyahu losing the next election than whether or not Israel actually survives the war that is being waged against it. It's, again, not at all something Trump should comment on whatsoever. but the response from the Israeli president, I consider pure politics, and there is no need for the role of president in Israel. Why is this a thing? Anders.
I can't comment on whether there's a role for president or not in Israel, but yeah, I mean, this is just another example of Trump not abiding by any other rules than what he sets for himself, if any. I just want to mention an article by Ayn Rand that is, I mean, if you're interested in, how Trump works, she wrote an article in Philosophy Who Needs It, Selfishness Without a Self. And it's available for free on the Ayn Rand Institute website. So Daniel, if you can put a link in the show notes for that. That is, read that and you get a better appreciation and understanding for how Trump works in his thinking, because he is a perfect example of a man with alleged selfishness. I mean, he's described as a selfish person, but deep down there is no self to the man. So
Yeah. And by the way, his desire specifically for the Nobel Peace Prize, I think, is shows that more than anything. This prize doesn't have any, intrinsic value. It's the value that people place on it, which is not
right.
real. If you look at the kind of people who won it in the past, including Yasser Arafat, this should not have the in a rational world. This would not be a prestigious prize. It would be treated as, the left-wing, self-congratulatory crap that it is. I want to just clarify my statement about president. Actually, in my ideal system, there would be a president. There wouldn't be a prime minister. I think it should be much more like the US, where you directly choose the leader. In Israel, you don't actually vote for a prime minister. You vote for a party. Then parties form coalitions, and then the leader of a party is prime minister. But yeah, there's
And you don't vote for a president.
what?
You don't vote for a president either.
No, yeah, and then Parliament also votes for a president once every 7 years, I believe, and the president has no real role. So yeah, my point is there's no need for a separate head of state and head of government. Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, what Israel has is the parliamentary system, which again, I don't think is a good idea. I think, I mean, James Valiant once said it, and I've never heard it phrased that way, but independent executive is what we are talking about, in the same way you have independent judiciary, although that works a little bit different. And I think that is a good thing, because the fact is, yeah, when you have Israel, you have one election that decides virtually everything from legislative to executive to even judiciary to a large example, although Israel has that figured out. Although in a way, like the fact that judiciary is a bit controlled from the inside instead of completely controlled by the parliament, at least gives it some separation instead of it being like a whole one body, which of course it doesn't work well now. But yeah, I think like with any American system is good. That's what I'm basically trying to say. So more countries should try to emulate that. When it comes to, I mean, we mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize. So yeah, I'd like to thank Alfred Nobel for his great invention of dynamite, and the prize, I think, sucked. I think he shouldn't been. He was kind of resentful about, or not resentful, but kind of worried about his invention. So yeah, I think he should have gone all in with that, and ignored the Peace Prize. Or the Nobel Prize specifically, because I wished we remembered him by something else than that. What else is there? The corruption cases. I mean, yeah, again, this is like a weird thing to like for Trump to do. When and even like saying that Netanyahu is like this great like hero, like war hero. The fact is that the problems with Israel as of right now are to a large extent because of Netanyahu. He has been leading the nation for a long time in the last few decades, for most of it. So trying to, I don't think And again, that shouldn't matter on it specifically. Like, if he is guilty of corruption charges, then he should, be out whatever he does, manages to do in a war. Although with these specific cases, at least when I looked into them, don't seem like hold much credibility. I think the only one of them is kind of might actually hold ground, and even then, going after the like the heads of states while they are in charge is always a touchy issue, because it's hard to basically say that this is not a politically motivated, which again, even if it is politically motivated, right, the person can still do it and the prosecution can be politically motivated, right?
Yeah, by the way, I heard yesterday an interview with somebody from the coalition in Israel talking about the judicial reform and talking about how, we've had a very right-wing government for 3 years, but we've never really had this, and it takes more than 3 years. And yeah, this is such excuses from, somebody who is in the coalition of the person who has been in power for, more than any other Israeli prime minister in history, is weird. Yes, before these 3 years, there was like a weekend or so where, Bennett and Lapid were prime minister, but it's been Netanyahu for a while. I also saw some story on, I think it was Channel 14, that talked about Israel's history of receiving U.S. aid. And they showed a clip from Netanyahu. I see people in the chat saying Netanyahu looks old. They showed a clip of his first speech in Congress. I think it was 97. He first became prime minister in 96. He became leader of the opposition, I think, in 93. He's been in, the public eye since the 80s, when he was a fantastic ambassador to the UN. That's the kind of role that Netanyahu is great for, role where you have to talk, but you don't have to make any decisions. That's perfect for him. So yeah, it makes sense for him to look old. More clips?
Yeah, and he's like middle 70s, so yeah, people get older with time. Yes, let's do this one.
I have a great relationship with President Erdogan, and we'll be talking about it. And if it's good, I think that's good. And a lot will be having.
Oh, wait, I should mention, the question was, let's do from the start. The question was, what about the Turkey troops in Gaza? That was the question. So, and again, notice Netanyahu's face.
I have a great relationship with President Erdogan, and we'll be talking about it. And if it's good, I think that's good. And a lot will be having to do with Bibi. We're going to be talking about that. But Turkey's been great, and he's been, excellent as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about you. To me, he's been very good.
I promised some of our viewers I'm gonna, try to clean up the language on shows. Apologies in advance. No fucking way Turkish troops can be in Gaza. That is an enemy country, and it's a country that is preparing for actual war with Israel. I don't know if they're going to do it, but they are preparing for it. And we've been talking about this a lot in the past week. Israel, part of why the recognition of Somaliland is so important is because Israel is going to be right there where Turkey practically owns Somalia, certainly more than, the Somali government owns Somalia. So it's, and this is another scary thing about Trump. Why does he like Erdogan? Because Erdogan is a horrible, oppressive dictator, even though he's elected, but he's very much a dictator. And yeah, Trump likes power. He doesn't have an ideology of, even an ideology of, a specific type of power. Somebody is powerful, as in, his people fear him, and the region where he is fears him, then that is what Trump likes. But yeah, no, absolutely not. Under any circumstances can Israel ever allow Turkish troops into Gaza. Anders.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I mean, Erdogan is a an Islamic authoritarian in a Western suit, basically. That's the only difference between him and the other guys further south on the Arabian Peninsula. As for troops in Gaza, I've long held that the only long-term solution here is an Israeli occupation for the duration, for generations, until the Gaza population has given up on the idea of from the river to the sea and started focusing on living productive lives and improving those lives for themselves and for their families, and understanding what life really should be about. And that includes the West Bank, and that probably includes Lebanon as well. So yeah, no, Turkish or any other peacekeeping troops from wherever they come, doesn't matter. Israel should say no to that, and hopefully, when this last hostage is out of Gaza, I assume that is Hamas's last life insurance, that Israel is going in and clearing it out. I'm probably too optimistic, but that is what I would like to see.
Well, I do have to say, anytime occupation comes up, that I think it's a fantasy that will end in tragedy if it happens. It's not Israel's job to denazify the population. And by the way, even denazify is a compliment to them, because Nazi Germany was not as full Nazi as the Palestinians are. This is also, when we first talked about the Somaliland recognition, this was the first point, and hopefully is still a valid point, which is they need to go. They need to go somewhere. And if Somaliland accepts them, great, but that should be on Netanyahu's agenda now, because whoever comes next is not going to be friendly to Israel. And even if it doesn't isn't done completely and it's done partly, that is better than nothing.
So are you saying that deporting the population to Somaliland?
Deporting the population anywhere, they can't stay, is what I'm saying. And occupation means soldiers dying daily, and basically soldiers dying to sacrifice themselves for the fantasy of Palestinians becoming, civilized Western people. If they become that, they can become that elsewhere. But yeah, after October 7th, there's no question. And 2 years after October 7th, when you haven't seen a single person in Gaza say this was evil, we can't be the people who do this. But what we do know is that thousands, when they heard of the attack, decided to join in. Thousands, tens of thousands took to the streets to celebrate. We know from hostages who have been released or rescued that, some of them were treated like a museum, like people would go and see the Israeli hostages. Everybody knew, or many, many people knew where they were. Not a single person did anything about it. Yeah, even deportation is a prize that I'm not sure they're worthy of. But it's not Israel's job to fix it. It's not a, unprecedented thing to do in warfare. Populations are moved. And yeah, that's something I think absolutely is, if Israel is going to live in peace and security in the long run.
Oh, wait, what happened? Oh, I think Raz's laptop died. Yeah, so I think he was going to finish that if Israel is going to have a long-term life, it would have to be
Yeah, I guess
deportation.
we'll have to see which one of us has the most unrealistic solution. So
well, I would add that in many ways Israel has tried this, right? It worked out with Arabs in Israel proper. They became full citizens, but they are not necessarily to say they are a problem, but still there is a Arab population, like Arab Israelis are still, if a full-on war happened, it's still a little bit unsure what exactly would happen. when it comes to Palestinians, the fact is they were all part of Israel. They were full-on residents in Israel. All of the Palestinians in Gaza and Judea and Samaria after 67. And they decided, no, we'd rather try a war. Like, I don't know, again, drawing on my own experience, my heritage experience from Czechoslovakia. It's, after World War II, well, I use specifically Slovakia. We deported a bunch of Hungarians from the southern lands, and a lot of them are still here. And if those Hungarians that were still living in Czechoslovakia, or Germans that were still living in Czechoslovakia, like tried something again, like some overthrowing of a regime, I don't know if this would be like another, okay, let's try occupation again. I mean, at some point, yeah, maybe it just doesn't work out, right? And again, it's not like Israel is the one who started, who just was set upon getting rid of them. They integrated Arabs. For some reason, Palestinians didn't want to be integrated.
Yeah, first of all, clearly the Qatari industrial complex knows that Anders is wrong and I'm right, and they're trying to silence me. But also, yeah, this didn't we say a long time ago we're going to have a debate, occupation versus deportation? Did we ever do that?
Did we? We might have.
Well,
we might have been planning it, and then maybe it fell through.
Well, it needs to happen, but not right now. So let's schedule it and let's listen to more of Trump. And I'm going to see if I can revive my laptop because it's more convenient than doing the show from my phone.
Well, we have a super chat from Kirk Wilkos. Thank you so much. Kirk also had a great video on anti-Semitism recently, so I recommend checking out this channel. And he said, but what about my Operation Ajax? Which, is a fair point. I guess Iran deserves to be a theocracy because one time, supposedly, CIA overthrew the prime minister of Iran that wanted to nationalize American oil field, or not American, well, British. Yeah, British oil fields in Iran. Which reminds me, Kirk also has a good video on Operation Ajax, so I recommend checking that one as well. He also cites a lot of sources if people want to check out some books about that specifically. Any comments on that from either of you, or should we watch another video?
Let's move on.
Let's see what we have left. Okay, let's do this one.
Are you going to ask Netanyahu to sign an agreement with Syria?
The journalist asked if Trump wants Netanyahu to sign an agreement with the new Syrian regime.
Well, I hope he's going to get along with Syria because the new president of Syria is working very hard to do a good job. He really is. I know he's a tough cookie, and he's, you're not going to get a choir boy to lead Syria. That's the one thing I would say. So I hope they're going to get along because, I dropped the sanctions on Syria because otherwise they wouldn't have had a chance. We want to see Syria survive. So we're going to be talking about Syria too. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good time. Go have a good lunch.
Yeah, maybe we should go have a good lunch. So Anders, Al-Jilani is a tough cookie, but is not a choir boy. What do we make out of that?
Yeah, there is again Trump's affinity for strong men coming through, whether it's Erdogan or the Syrian leader, who we know is I would agree with him that Syria is it's a mess of tribal and religious groups, and quite frankly, I don't really care that much about Syria. So who is in charge, as long as it doesn't negatively impact the United States of America. And I know we had some troops that were killed here recently, and we retaliated there. I can't really say to what extent it is strategically motivated to still have troops in Syria. I guess we're keeping ISIS at bay to some extent, perhaps. But overall, as I said, what happens to Syria is not at the top of my list. And I think Netanyahu said later in this or another interview that he's hoping for, a peaceful border. Now, Israel, in its own interest, may want to increase the buffer, from just having the Golan Heights to occupying a piece of southern Syria as well. But yeah, that's probably something that may get on the table if there are continued skirmishes or other confrontations with Syria from the Israel side. Right now, I think Israel is pretty happy if it's just quiet, so they can focus on other things. But Rossi, you may have some other details about what's going on the Syrian border.
Well, so Israel is holding a chunk of Syria beyond the Golan Heights, but and I think it should at least make it so that it can hold that indefinitely if they need to, and always keep in mind that even to the extent that Trump is friendly to Israel, he at some point will no longer be president, and the next person is very unlikely to be as friendly to Israel. So Israel's current policy should take that into account. I'm with you. The U.S. shouldn't care what happens in Syria beyond how it might affect the U.S. But that's not what we heard. He's praising Al-Qaeda. We have to remember this guy's Al-Qaeda, so if it's tiny Al-Qaeda somewhere that's not posing a threat, sure, you don't care, but you don't praise it. Praise is a form of care. So yeah, it's again, I also know what value Trump places on the words that come out of his mouth, so he can very quickly change his position on that. But this is what he's currently saying, and I don't like it. What I do like is the super chat from Jonathan Honig, which I don't think I thanked him for. So thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. And thank you, of course, for approving or at least not suing us for using your likeness for the Jonathan Honig t-shirt, which is available at aynrandcenter.co.uk/shop. It is past Christmas, but this is a year-round gift. Send it to the White House. Maybe President Trump will change his policies if you give him that gift. So yeah, who knows?
I mean, he did call him a tough cookie, so there's that. But
Giuliani, okay, not
Trump Giuliani. But yeah, I mean, not much to say here. I mean, this is another example of I think Trump just wants to do jokes. I think that's his calling. I always say that when Trump has a chance to make a dumb joke or make a proper point, he will always go for a dumb joke. And I do that as well. But I'm a podcaster. I'm not a president of the United States. And even I should probably stop it at some point, but maybe not yet. So yeah, that's I wish we had something more, not even it doesn't even have to be that, because Reagan joked about, right? But he had at least somewhat firm policy on certain issues, where we could expect what was going to happen. So I'm not saying that he shouldn't make jokes. I think Trump should make all the jokes he wants if this is the kind of thing he's going for. But at least have a proper policy, or at least not have the jokes be at the expense of the American people and the Western civilization. Make jokes about Putin. Call North Korean dictator a little rocket man. That's nice. Call Putin also something funny. But apparently we can only call funny names our political opponents and our political allies like Little Marco and Lying Ted.
Yeah, and Crooked Hillary. Yeah, that's the thing. Trump. Reagan joked about bombing the Soviet Union, and they actually thought it's about to happen. That's a different type of funny than Trump. Vered says Trump is pretty funny, actually, a lot funnier than Chappelle. Well, first of all, thanks. That's a great comparison. Also, if Trump decides the presidency is not for him and he wants to do a Netflix special, actually, I would have said in the past. I'd like to see that, but now that I know if he actually is no longer president anytime soon, JD Vance is president, and I prefer Trump given those options, like not by a little bit. I think I've made that clear when we did an episode about JD Vance. Do we have any more clips?
I think we do. We didn't do this one yet.
Are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not going
The question was, is Trump concerned that that Netanyahu isn't moving fast enough to phase 2?
concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong, they're solid, and sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
Who said Trump doesn't care about the planet? See, he's concerned about the fuel.
Just one thing I want to point out. I'm wondering, when Trump says, I've been reading that Iran is rearming, is that like reading in New York Post, reading on X, or like reading like State Department actually what is like saying to him?
I hope it's intelligence reports, but you never know. I mean, but I should say I like that answer because what I'm reading, and unfortunately it's not intelligence reports. I don't know why they don't send them to me. Maybe they get lost in the mail. But when I read the Israeli media, I hear that Trump is pushing for phase 2 and he's really upset with Netanyahu and everybody's had it with him and they're about to turn on Israel. That didn't sound like that at all. It sounds like he understands that Hamas isn't disarming, they're rearming, and that is a violation of the ceasefire. Big surprise. And that there's no moving to the next step until this step is completed.
And this is after he learned about the prize too, so.
After what?
After he learned about the prize, getting the prize.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so first, just let me be clear, and that is that there shouldn't have been a ceasefire in the first place. That's number one. But then the journalist's question about whether Israel is not living up, and I guess that was and I don't know the details, but I thought Trump responded well there. He could have been a little bit more explicit and saying that Hamas is the one that is not living up to the agreements. And then with respect to Iran, phase 2 or whatever, that would be well spent money on fuel, that's for sure. Again, it's just sad that we couldn't have let Israel finish it up the first time. And we would have probably been in a different situation now. And especially now, it seems like Iran is indeed crumbling. We'll see what happens. But it's I leave it at that.
Yeah, and I love how he says we took care of Iran. Like, no, Israel took care of Iran, and then America came in and did the last thing, which Israel should be very grateful for. Ginger, just to correct you, he was talking about giving, as I understood it, giving Hamas second chances, right? Unless
I think it was pointed towards Bibi. That's what I understood it as.
Oh. Do you want to
Like
watch it
we've
again?
given him what?
Can we watch it again? I think
Sure.
maybe I missed it.
Other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong, they're solid, and sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances, but no, Israel's.
Oh, I guess it could be them. We'll give them a couple of second
Yeah,
chances.
who's violating? He's not talking about Israel violate. I don't know. It's and yeah, it's good when you say them multiple times. At some point, you have to say who them is. But yeah, I understood it differently. But okay, that's inconclusive. Yeah, also inconclusive is me reading the chat and reading kind of half reading a comment that says Razi being ultra biased as usual, and then I read it again and I see that it says based, not biased. Yeah, I need to catch up with the slang. Yeah, Daniel,
I don't understand. Based on what?
it's a good question.
Um, yeah, I mean, on this one, again, this one was again okay for what it is. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really that much to say. This is like classic Trump. When it comes to again, like moving along for the phase two, I don't know where that's going. I mean, we've been stuck at this specific. I mean, when was even the last time a hostage was released? Was it even like a month ago? Or like that's been a long time ago.
Been a while.
Or yeah, even longer. So we've been pretty much at this point for a long time. Nothing seems to be happening. I mean, in the meantime, we had like the UN Security Council resolution, but nothing seems to be going even in that direction. So who knows? I think, as I always said, I think Israel simply benefits from this becoming the new, or not benefits. I think Israel simply would be okay with just this being the new status quo. You know, Israel stays behind the yellow line. They clean it up on their side, and they let Hamas inside of Gaza. I don't think it's a good solution, but it increasingly looks like that what Israel just might go with until I mean, who knows? Because with this solution, let's say if this becomes the status quo for like half a year more, I don't think anything will change. Like even if JD Vance or whoever becomes the Democratic president, like comes into power, like after that, I think like there wouldn't be any will to really change that. So if Israel retains this situation, I think they might just go for it, which is not a safe thing because both you still would have Hamas in Gaza, in half of Gaza, and as well as terrorists in Judea and Samaria that are not dealt with.
Yeah, you can't keep this situation. I mean, you can't say, okay, we're still on phase one, 3 years from now. Like the deal is they have to disarm. It's never ever going to happen. The question is, when are they going to say, okay, you've had enough time. You haven't done this. You haven't made any. You've made steps in the other direction. I don't know because I don't know how you negotiate with terrorists in the first place and believe them that they're going to hold up their end of the bargain. But yeah, hopefully at some point, hopefully the point at which Israel decides to actually do what needs to be done isn't when it's too late, or at least so late that more Israeli soldiers die, because that's what rearming means.
Yeah, you say that, but Oslo Accords are in phase one as of right now. So I think it can easily become like a status quo thing. Because Oslo Accords wasn't just about establishing Palestinian Authority. The end goal was establishment of the Palestinian state.
Officially?
Yeah.
Okay, we can look into that because I think I don't remember to what extent this was officially Israel's, something Israel approved of like in 93. I think even the left at the time wasn't super keen on calling whatever happens a Palestinian state. I think there was like, legal mumbo jumbo, like full autonomy, but not officially calling it a state.
it might have been later with Camp David. But still, that was still like the framework we are working after. So let
This is
me
a
get away
ceasefire.
with it.
There's a limit. There's a time limit on by which Hamas needs to disarm, right?
Yeah, which was like 3 months ago or something.
Fully disarm, aren't they? Isn't it? Don't they have a bit more time? Don't they have until March?
I'll check that. We can go to Anders and I'll check the text, but I think it was.
I don't know any of these details, sorry.
Well, for something else while I'm looking this up.
Oh, for something
Or
else.
like comments on this specific
Yeah,
what
I
Trump has
can
said.
maybe offer some final comments. I just want to reiterate that for those who are struggling with understanding Trump's personality, look up or read the Ayn Rand article of Selfishness Without a Self. It's very illuminating. You can find me on Substack, andersingemarson.substack.com. And if you're desperate for a New Year's resolution, why not pick up a copy of my book, Think Right or Wrong, Not Left or Right, and make a commitment to read that in the new year. And you'll find that on Amazon.
Well, Daniel, we can talk about the details. They're not really important. Hamas is not going to disarm. That's the bottom line. People sign deals with organizations and then put whatever language they think they can later pretend like they did their best. But we can we ever expect the terrorists to not hold their end of the bargain? So yeah, Hamas won't disarm. Israel will at some point have to fight a war there. Will it be on Israel's timeline? Will Hamas decide when it happens? That's on Netanyahu. But yeah, overall, I will say all things considered, and again, my expectations are low. All things considered, I would say yesterday's press conference, yesterday's meeting, as far as we can tell, was good enough from Israel's perspective. I'm Razi Ginsburg on X.
Yeah, I don't think in the original agreement there was a timeline on the disarmament, unless there was something that came after, which I don't remember, but maybe there was. The timeline I was remembering was the 72 hours for all the hostages to come back home, which of course wasn't upheld, including the bodies, I think. And even the live hostages weren't returned in time. Or were they? I don't remember even now. Were the live hostages? Because they were released at once, right?
I don't remember if it was on time. It was not not your typical definitely not your typical Hamas, waiting forever, but with the bodies they took their time. They released them late, and of course they're still holding one. And there was a story in Israel that they went in and took some terrorist who is believed to be directly connected to the holding of the body. So hopefully they can get whatever they need to out of him, and if they can get the body, that's good. If they need to act militarily to do that, that's a step in the right direction.
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Damned Dan. And any last thoughts on this? I mean, just broadly, the best within the Iranian people to stand up. I hope whatever independent thinking that is within that population, I hope it persists, and I hope they manage to overthrow the Iranian regime. And I hope if it is in our interest, I hope Israel, America, I mean, I would hope European states would also do something, but I wouldn't expect anything. But I wish they would have also helped, even morally standing up, if nothing else.
I will say that one of my New Year's resolutions is to launch a new channel from from the Ayn Rand Center UK. I'm not going to say specifically what it's about, what it's called, but we are recording the first video for it today, and my timeline is I want the channel to be up and running before Hamas disarms. Let's see if we can achieve that. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for watching. The Daily Objective and the reality show return tomorrow and Thursday. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, it doesn't matter. The bad guys are still doing their thing, and we're still gonna keep fighting back.
Happy New Year.